Hi everybody, I am back again. Had a request from my last video if I could do a little tutorial on how I print on fabric. So I'm just gonna show you what I do, but I'm not gonna actually print it in this video. But I'll just go through what I do. When I'm printing on fabric, I use my inkjet printer, and what I have is a top load inkjet printer, and that is where a top load is the printer where it looks like the paper is standing up at the back of the printer, so it's going to feed down through the printer like that. I have not tried it on a printer that feeds this way. I would be a little more cautious about doing that. Because I would have a fear that it could bother my printer. And so I'm fortunate I do have a top loading one, so that's what I use. So what I do is I get a piece of cardstock and a piece of fabric that's cut. I don't necessarily measure, but a little bit wider than the actual cardstock, and I usually iron it, but just for the sake of time here. And I spray the cardstock, cat hairs or threads. I spray the cardstock with Easy Tack, and it's a repositionable adhesive. You can use any brand as long as it's repositionable. I love this one. It works really, really well. I've already sprayed this, and I've just got a sturdy, flat cardboard box here to work on. I usually put a piece of foam cardboard on my ironing board and do it from there. But what I'll do is actually lay down my fabric, and then I will put the paper with the adhesive side down right on top of that, but I'm going to leave a little bit of area up top so the fabric actually starts a quarter of an inch to a half an inch in from the top of the paper. And then I smooth it down, just pressing down on it so that the adhesive gets through there. And you don't need a heavy coat of adhesive. You don't want a heavy coat. The most important part is like this top half. Be held down pretty well. Just get rid of that loose thread. And then I take painter's tape. This is the Frog brand, so it's green. And I tape across the top. And I'm putting the tape almost at the very edge, or as close to that very top edge as I can get it without going over that edge. And I press down firmly. Now obviously I have too much fabric here, so I'm just going to take the time and carefully trim down the sides. I think I need to sharpen my scissors. Come on. And just as close to the edge of the, using the edge of the cardstock as my guide. Do the same thing on this side. I like to flip it over. And if I've got excess tape, I'm cutting that off at the same time. Smooth it down again if you have to. It doesn't have to be perfect, but as close as you can. And since it's top loading, what it looks like at this bottom edge, not so important. Okay. So then what I'll do is put this in my printer with this down so that this feeds through first. And I'll make sure that my settings are set up so that it doesn't start printing, until an inch or so into the page or into the fabric. You set your dimensions for whatever size you're doing. If your software has a feature where you can define the page size, a lot of times you can do longer than like a legal size 8.5 by 14. I know my printer, the software itself, will go up to 44 inches in length, but there are also plugins that you can use, like with Photoshop. What I got was a free plugin, and I can pretty much determine any length I could possibly want to print, whether it be a fabric or on paper or whatever. But since most of us, just have capability to do legal size, 8.5 by 14 would be your page size. And I set it, if I'm using it like a cotton fabric, I tell it that I'm printing on a matte paper on photo quality. Just setting making my settings accordingly. Put this in, and I will usually hold on to it after I've sent it to the printer. I'll hold on to it just a little bit, just to make sure that I can push it a little bit for it to grab hold and feed. And sometimes once in a while it doesn't like it, but I find that happens if I've overlapped the tape and just folded it over. If you just do it like this, just right at that edge, you shouldn't have any problem with that. A lot of people like to will iron their fabric onto freezer paper. I've never done that, so I can't tell you how it works. But I will tell you this printer silk that I get is on a paper backing, but I will still go through the process. I won't spray it, but I'll still go through the process of taping that top edge down to a piece of cardstock, because I don't want any, you can see a little bit of fraying on the threads. I don't want any of that to catch in my printer. So I just make sure it's lined up, and I use the painter's tape and tape across. I don't need to secure it to the rest of the cardstock because it's got some body to it already with the paper backing, and I feed it in the same way. And that's pretty much what I do for printing on fabric. I think it was Donna. Donna, I hope that answered your question. Definitely worth trying. Like I said, I have not tried it on a bottom feed. If it's a bottom feed where the paper is not stacked in an enclosed tray, I hope that makes sense. If you're not pulling out a drawer to put your paper in, if you can actually see your paper on your bottom feed, you'll probably have more luck because it'll go kind of straight through. If you're using a printer that actually has a drawer that has the paper, the way it feeds is so convoluted, you probably don't want to try this. If you have a manual bypass tray, that might be an option for you. If you have settings for thickness of paper, then you might probably want to take advantage of those and choose one of the thicker settings. But also, if you don't want to go through all this, there are lots of great fabric sheets out there now made for printers. They're just going to be 8.5 by 11, but you don't have to do any of this. You probably still want to use a top-loading printer, or your printer that does not have a printer tray that you would pull out. But yeah, there's canvases made for printers now, fabric sheets. So if you don't want to go through all this, check that out, but they can be a little pricey, so I like this option because it's a lot more economical. So I hope that helps you, and I guess let me know if you have any questions. I hope I explained it okay. Sometimes talking on video, you're trying to think of everything, and sometimes you miss things, so hope it helps you out. Give it a try. Let me know how it works for you. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see y'all soon. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.